We need to be as curious. We need to be as curious as this parrot in Brazil, just like we should be curious about how we eat for diabetes control. Today, we'll explore several ideas about the speed of eating, plus some additional tips to keep our blood sugars under control. For example, when we decide to eat, how quickly should we eat? We'll also look at additional helpful strategies for eating, like the sequence of eating various foods, such as vegetables and protein and carbs. And we'll look at skills or techniques to eat slower. So here are the tips that I want to go over: the speed in eating salads first, and eat whole foods and protein. We'll start with speed in eating. First of all, eat slowly. Someone might say something like this: I've always enjoyed my food. I may eat fast, but it's often because, I don't really know. Actually, I've never thought about why I eat fast, but it doesn't really matter. Well, God's wisdom says this, though. It's not good to have zeal without knowledge, but to be hasty and miss the way. And those who are patient have great understanding. And so the following is an example of how patiently eating brings a great understanding and wise, mindful eating. How do we eat? The table is set and ready for food. 12 hungry brothers sit at the table ready to eat. Mom brings the food and puts it before them. The food is limited, and these guys are famished. Can you picture the scene? The only thing you hear is the chomping of teeth. And how long will it take for them to clean their plates? I can imagine asking for dessert in 5 minutes. When you sit down to eat, you're not sitting with 11 hungry brothers, are you? Yet it is so easy to fall into the trap of devouring food without even tasting it. Imagine a tiger chasing you, running for your life. A sharp, deep cliff confronts you. The tiger is getting so close you can feel his breathing down your neck. And then you notice a rope dangling over the cliff, and you grab it. Holding onto the rope for your life, you sway, dangling from the cliff. The tiger roars above, 500 feet below. Sharp, jagged rocks are shouting, "Fall!" And then you notice 2 mice chewing on the rope above you. What should you do? The tiger above, the rocks below, and the rope is about to break. Then you notice some delicious looking, bright red, ripe tomatoes. Let's start over. So imagine a tiger is chasing you. Running for your life, a sharp, deep cliff confronts you. The tiger is getting so close that you can feel him breathing down your neck. And then you notice a rope dangling over the cliff, and you grab it. Holding onto the rope for your life, you sway, dangling from the cliff. The tiger roars above, and the 500 feet below, the sharp, jagged rocks are shouting, "Fall!" Then you notice 2 mice chewing on the rope above you. What should you do? The tiger above, the rocks below, and the rope is about to break. Just then you notice delicious looking bright red ripe strawberries growing out of the side of the cliff. You stretch out one hand, pluck a strawberry, pop it into your mouth. The strawberry is so sweet and refreshing, you think that's the best strawberry I've ever tasted. And if the tiger or the sharp rocks still occupied your mind, you would have never tasted and enjoyed the strawberries. We call this the precious present. When we eat, are we focusing on the smell, the texture, the color, the rich taste of the food? Look at the food, noticing its color and texture. Smell the food, inhale the aroma before taking your first bite. Research indicates most people feel satiety, that is fullness, in about 20 minutes. And we don't give ourselves time for that feeling of fullness because we're gulping down our food instead of smelling and tasting it. Sleep deprivation also impacts physical health. There's an impairment of hormones that relate to appetite. Less leptin, the feel full hormone, is released, and more of ghrelin, the still hungry hormone. This makes losing weight an even greater challenge. So the strategy is to sleep more and lose weight. Adequate sleep relates to the feeling of satiety and to the strategy of eating slowly. Synergy results when these two principles of eating of enough sleep and feeling full come together, giving you more significant results than expected. So according to the book Glucose Revolution, if we compare two meals containing the same number of calories, but the one with fewer carbs will lead to a smaller glucose spike and will keep you feeling full for longer. High insulin levels add to the feeling of constant hunger. And when a lot of insulin is in our body with insulin resistance built up over years of glucose spikes, our hormones get mixed up. Studies have suggested that hyperinsulinemia can potentially cause leptin resistance, the feel full hormone, and obesity, eventually leading to diabetes. So high levels of insulin with insulin resistance, leptin, the hormone that tells us that we are full and should stop eating, has its signal blocked, while ghrelin, the hormone that tells us that we are hungry, takes over. Even though we have fat reserves and lots of energy available, our body tells us that we need more, so we eat. And as we eat, we experience more glucose spikes, and insulin rushes in to store excess glucose and fat, increasing the amount of ghrelin. The more weight we put on, the hungrier we get, and it's an unfortunate, vicious, and unfair cycle. So eating fewer carbs decreases insulin levels and brings fewer glucose spikes. So what are we to do by eating less carbs? Well, research studies have found that eating quickly results in eating more. And eating too fast outpaces the satiety signal, the feeling full sensation, which takes about 20 minutes. So simply slow down the fork. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in a moment. Now look at this moose in Alaska coming into a theater. As he's looking around in the lobby, he notices popcorn on a counter. He begins to eat popcorn, and popcorn is carbs. If we eat popcorn in a theater, our glucose will spike up. How fast you eat carbs affects after meal blood sugar levels. Yes, especially if you eat the carbs on your plate first. And so there's the timing sequence. Timing sequence of eating protein and carbs. Eat protein first. And what difference does that make? You've got to be kidding. Well, here is God's wisdom. Finish your outdoor work and get your fields ready. After that, build your house. So we see a sequence in that. And so the first thing that we need to do is to eat vegetables and protein, then carbs. Carbohydrates raise blood sugar. But if you tell someone not to eat them or to eat or to eat vegetables, then protein, then carbs. Carbohydrates raise blood sugar. But if you tell someone not to eat them or to drastically cut back, it's hard for them to comply, says one doctor. This study points to an easier way that patients might lower their blood sugar and insulin levels from Cornell University. And so focus on how much and when carbohydrates are eating. 11 people with type 2 diabetes were obese and only on metformin. And the meal consists of carbohydrates, protein, vegetables, and fat. And so what they did, they ate the carbs first, waited 15 minutes, and ate the protein and vegetables second. And then they reversed that order, and they ate the protein, the vegetables first, and then the carbs came 15 minutes after that. So what were the results? Well, post-meal glucose levels were checked at 30, 60, and 120 minutes intervals, and much lower at the 30, 60, and 120 minute checks by about 29%, 37%, 17% respectively. And which order brought about the better results? Carbs eaten last brought those better results. And so, in other words, this Cornell University's 2015 research study revealed that if you eat a meal containing starch, fiber, sugar, protein, and fat in a specific order, you reduce your overall glucose spike by 73%, as well as your insulin spike by 48%. This is true for anyone with or without diabetes. So, what is the correct order? It's fiber first, protein and fat second, and starches and sugars last. Foods containing fat slow gastric emptying. So, eating them before rather than after carbs also helps flatten our glucose spikes or curves. The takeaway: eating carbs after everything else is the best sequence. So, on this plate, eat your potatoes last. Eat the potatoes last. Foods vary in the number of calories they pack in each bite. Reduce the calories per bite. Volumetrics eat more and still lose weight. So, what will your meals look like? Well, here is a 100-calorie salad, both of them. The dressing will make a big difference in the 100-calorie totals. Take away the calorie-rich dressing and cheeses, and you get vegetables and foods that will fill you up. Another factor in foods giving a full satiety feeling is fiber. Fiber also relates to blood sugar control. And so on food labels, in the total number of carbohydrates, grams that you're serving, fiber is included. Fiber is a complex carbohydrate that the body can't break down. It has several benefits, such as helping to prevent blood glucose spikes after a meal. That is, soluble fiber controls food cravings, gives a longer lasting full feeling. Eating foods with fiber means eating fewer calories, which is also helpful for controlling weight. So, what are the benefits of fiber? Well, fiber, especially soluble fiber, limits rapid blood glucose peaks. It gives a full feeling longer and helps control cholesterol. So, how many grams should you? Men should eat about 30 grams of fiber a day, women 20 grams. The book Glucose Revolution lists these three superpowers of fiber. First, it reduces the action of an enzyme that breaks down starch into glucose molecules. And second, it slows down stomach emptying. When fiber is present, food moves more slowly. And finally, it creates a dense mesh in the small intestine, making it harder for glucose to reach the bloodstream. And through these mechanisms, fiber slows down the breakdown and absorption of any glucose that lands in the stomach after it. The result is that fiber flattens your glucose curves. Let me add that this is especially true of soluble fiber, which dissolves in water, becomes a gummy gel, and helps blunt elevated blood glucose after a meal. So let me repeat this point from Glucose Revolution about fiber's benefits. Fiber is also good for our glucose levels for several reasons, notably because it creates a dense mesh in our intestine. The mesh slows down and reduces the absorption of molecules from food across the intestinal lining. And what does this mean for our glucose curves? First, that we absorb fewer calories, and second, with fiber in our system, any absorption of glucose or fructose molecules is lessened. Better, says this proverb, to have a dish of vegetables where there is love than a juicy steak where there is hate. Most people find a delicious steak meal satisfying to the taste, but the taste is lost when eating the meal with bitter, resentful, hateful people towards you. Whereas eating a meal with those you love is pictured with vegetables. And guess what? As we've been examining, vegetables are good for us. Isn't it interesting that a subtle message of a meal of vegetables shows love? And what are vegetables? Well, they are very beneficial for our health. Here are some visual examples of fruits and vegetables rich in soluble fiber. What qualifies as a green starter for a meal? Well, any vegetable qualifies, from a roasted asparagus to coleslaw to grilled zucchini and grated carrots. And we're talking artichokes, broccoli, turnips, Brussels sprouts, eggplant, lettuce, and tomatoes, and also beans. Start your meal with those kinds of uh, food, a green starter for the meal. Now, Dr. Axe says this about broccoli. Broccoli was first cultivated as an edible crop in the northern Mediterranean region starting in about the 6th century BC. And as far back as the Roman Empire, it's been considered a uniquely valuable food when it comes to promoting health and longevity. Believe it or not, it didn't actually become widely known in the US until the 1920s, which is surprising if you consider how popular it is today. Why is broccoli good for dieters? It's one of the most nutrient-dense foods on earth. 1 cup of the cooked veggie has over 50 calories, but a good dose of that is fiber, 2.3 grams. Protein and detoxifying phytochemicals, which reduce inflammation. Is broccoli a carb? As a complex carbohydrate high in fiber, it's a great choice for supporting balanced blood sugar levels, ongoing energy, and helping you feel full. Want to know a secret to losing weight fast? Including more high volume, low calorie, high nutrient foods in your meals is key. Broccoli nutrition is high in volume due to having a high water content. So it takes up room in your stomach and squashes cravings or overeating without adding lots of calories to meals. And so here's some other high soluble fiber raw vegetables like carrots and bell peppers. But look what happens in contrast when I ate some Rice Krispies. This is recorded in my continuous glucose monitoring system. It almost doubled my blood sugar levels. And that was within 40 minutes. And so researchers at Stanford University did a study on continuous glucose monitoring. In 2018, they did something that all great scientists do. They challenged assumptions. And the result of this study was alarming. In those healthy individuals, a bowl of cereal sent their glucose levels into a zone of deregulation thought to be attainable only by people with diabetes. 16 of the 20 participants experienced a glucose spike above 140 milligrams per deciliter, and some even spiked above 200 milligrams per deciliter in the range of type 2 diabetes. And this tells me to avoid dry cereals like Cheerios and Rice Krispies to maintain good blood glucose levels. Here are some other foods that are rich in soluble fiber. Beans are loaded with fiber. And the following list gives serving size, total fiber grams per serving, and the number of soluble fiber grams in which to serve. Black beans have a half cup, 6.1 total grams of fiber, and 2.4 of that is soluble fiber. And then you can see what kidney beans are, navy beans. We also find that lima beans are there, pinto beans, all of the beans. Fruits also are our best option to keep your glucose levels steady are berries, like strawberries. And then citrus fruits like oranges and apples with the skin on the skin is where the fiber is. And whenever it comes to eating fruit, be sure and eat the fruit last as a dessert. And it makes a good dessert. So, what do we do? Skills for eating slowly. Why wait? Is a weight achievement and intensive treatment at the Joslin Diabetes Center. And I want to give you an example of what they say about this.
You got to be driven by your own desire, but they give you the tools to accomplish your objectives.
Simple tools, like learning proper portion sizes and eating at a slower pace.
One night he had us chew on a single dried cranberry for 5 minutes. It shows you how you can enjoy food without gulping it all down, and stuffing yourself.
So mindful eating, they teach mindful eating with this program. So take your time eating. They suggest relaxing and taking a couple of minutes of deep breathing. Look at the food, noticing its color and texture. Smell the food, inhaling the aroma before taking your first bite. Serve yourself less food than you think you need. Taste and savor every bite, chewing it thoroughly. To slow your eating pace, put down your fork between each bite. And before deciding to go back for seconds, wait 20 minutes. And so, take a sip of water between bites and literally slow down your fork. Allow the feel full signal to kick in about 20 minutes. And if eating with others, pace yourself with the slowest eater at the table. Avoid the just one more helping request, and instead leave some food on your plate. Decide how much to eat before the meal. In other words, count your carbs for your insulin dose if you're a type 1, if you have type 1 diabetes. Eat salads first is the next strategy. The baby elephant was sleeping soundly, and even her mother couldn't get him to wake up. So what does the mother do? She asks for help, which is what we need to do when we think about weight issues. It's not just willpower or lack of it that makes us overeat and gain weight. Sometimes it's that sneaky bad habit that you developed without even realizing it, like munching chips in front of your favorite TV show. The next thing you know, one little bad habit can equal a lot of weight gain. So I know that you're asking, and here are some more answers. The first one is to eat a salad first. And do you know what's wrong with this picture? Well, yeah, it's drenched with dressing, dense Thousand Island dressing. What would happen if you ate a salad before each meal? Well, there was research done at Penn State University about this. It would affect the number of calories that you eat in an entire meal, would it? 42 women participated in this study, and they gave several lunch options for each lunch to test. The control condition was not to eat a salad before the main course of the meal, which was pasta. And they were to eat as much pasta as they desired, and the researchers measured the calories eaten. And so, the control condition was no calories, no salad, that is, before eating the pasta, and the calories were counted. And then another condition was eat a salad before each pasta, and then they broke the salads down into different sizes, 150 gram, 300 gram by weight, and the energy density was changed with salad dressings or types of cheese on that. And so there was a 150-gram salad divided into 3 different categories of 50 calories, 100 calories, 150 or 200 calories. And this made the difference. So the control condition was that no salad was to be eaten before the pasta, and they measured all the food that was eaten. They were to eat a salad before eating pasta. That was another condition. And there was a 150-gram salad or a 300-gram salad by weight. The difference in calories would have been the energy density that was changed by the salad dressing or the types of cheese. The salads were divided into 3 different sections. There was a 150 gram, there's a 300 gram. For example, the 150 gram salad came with 3 levels of total calories, 50, 100, or 200 calories. If it were the low energy density salad, it would equal about 3 cups of salad with a very light dressing. And the same factors involve the 300-gram weight salad. And so, to control or lose weight, eat a salad without high-calorie dense dressings or cheese before your main course at dinner or supper. And when they ate the low energy density salads, the salads that pack more volume of food on the plate or in the bowl with the fewer calories, they ate less food during the main course of the pasta, and thus reduced the number of calories eaten during the main course. The results with light dressing or no cheese, we can see that. The study further determined that a salad for weight loss is effective that when you eat it before the main course. For the smaller salads of 150 grams with a low calorie dressing, 7% was eaten after they ate the salad. 7% less, that is, was eaten. So the results with light dressing, less or no cheese. So the results with light dressing, less or no cheese were these. They ate 7% less for the main course if they had a 150-gram salad before the meal. And it was 12% less if they ate a 300-gram by weight salad before the meal. A practical application of this is to take the prepackaged romaine salads or leaves with fiber and make a salad with 2 servings or 3 cups, which is 30 calories, and add a serving of low-calorie Italian dressing, which is another 30 calories, for a grand total of 60 calories. Rich dressings add calories to the salad and less volume, resulting in more eaten for the main course. And so think volume. How can I put more volume in my meals instead of calories? Choosing foods that are less concentrated with calories, meaning that you get a larger portion size with a fewer number of calories, can help you lose weight and control your hunger, so says the Mayo Clinic. And so what can you do? Well, you could get these salad dressings that have no calories whatsoever. Ruth, who is a member of the diabetes support group here, she did this for a number of months, in fact. She went from a 12.4 A1C, which is 309 average, to an 8.2 A1C, which is 189 average. And that was simply because she ate salads before her main meal. So eat whole foods and protein. Eating healthy is a challenge, especially when there are so many delicious unhealthy temptations. People think that if they practice some portion control, they will succeed. Did you hear the story about Yogi Berra? When the waitress asked if he wanted his pizza cut into 4 or 8 pieces, he said, I think 4. I don't think I can eat 8. Yes, people use fad diets to shed pounds quickly, but unfortunately, once the weight is lost, the old habits return, and so do the pounds and then some. Dr. Jennifer Hubert of St. Joseph's Health Medical Group calls this yo-yo dieting. Yo-yo dieting. She also says this, that other findings indicate that yo-yo dieting may lead to a higher risk of increased body fat, which means that these diets, in the long run, can have the opposite of the intended effect of losing weight. What's worse is that most yo-yo dieting is done with the trendy diets of the moment, which are poor nutritionally compared to eating a regular diet of whole foods like this video is showing. And so whole foods are like the difference between an apple and apple juice. The way to have fruit is in its whole state, with all the nutrients still there. Plus, in the whole state, foods are much more filling. Healthy foods are naturally loaded with fiber, vitamins, and minerals, and some are antioxidants that protect cells against damage. Whole foods are the state of rich, nutrient-dense foods. They have no added sugars and fats and exclude added salt or other high-sodium ingredients. And if you can't seem to eliminate junk food, then don't give up. Instead, look to those who didn't give up even under very trying situations like Thomas Jefferson. Whole foods are like the difference between an apple. Whole foods are like the difference between an apple and apple juice. The way to have fruit is in its whole state. Whole foods are like the difference between an apple and apple juice. The way to have fruit is in its whole state and all the nutrients still there. Plus, in the whole state, foods are much more filling. Healthy whole foods are naturally loaded with fiber, vitamins, and minerals, and some are antioxidants that protect cells against damage. Whole foods are the state of rich, nutrient-dense foods. They have no added sugars and fats and exclude added salt or other high-sodium ingredients. And if you can't seem to eliminate junk food, then don't give up. Instead, look to those who didn't give up even under very trying situations like Thomas Edison. Edison described himself as deaf, but in fact, he was just hard of hearing. He wasn't totally deaf. It was more accurate to say that he was very hard of hearing. He once wrote that, "I haven't heard a bird sing since I was 12 years old." So why didn't Edison invent a hearing aid? Well, he often told reporters that he was working on one, and sometimes he tested others' hearing aids, and it seems that Edison saw advantages to being deaf. For example, he said that it helped him concentrate on his work. And in 1927, he told a group of 300 hard of hearing adults that deaf people, like himself, should take to reading. It beats the babble of ordinary conversation. Well, Thomas Edison's labs burned in 1914, and he said our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is to always try just one more time. And the way of wisdom states that a wise person has great power and a man of knowledge increases strength, Proverbs 24. The best way to do one more time is with more knowledge. The following story tells of a woman winning a race at 105 years old. And when I read her story, I was impressed with her insights about living. Ida Keeling won and broke the world record for her age group of 100 years and older at the 122nd pin relays. Ida didn't start running until she was 67. The family tragedy of the murder of her two sons motivated her daughter. She said that she The following story tells of a woman winning a race at 105 years old. And when I read her story, I was impressed with her insights about living. Ida Keeling won and broke the world record for her age group of 100 years and older at the 122nd pin relays. Ida didn't start running until she was 67. A family tragedy of the murder of her two sons motivated her daughter, Shelley Keeling, to enroll her in a 5K run. She was just sitting at home in gloom. I just picked her up one morning and said, "You're coming with me." And I bought her an extra pair of sneakers, and the rest is history. And what is her secret to longevity? Well, eat for nutrition, not for taste, she said. Do what you need to do, not what you want to do, and make sure that you exercise at least once every day. And as an afterthought in the story, she said, "I thank God every day for my blessings." And so be sure to know the condition of your flocks, says another wisdom teaching. Give careful attention to your herds. For all of these teachings They are life to those who find them and health to one's whole body. Well, how do you tell the difference between a sheep and a goat? Well, it has to do with the tails. The tails will stick upright, and a goat, they're down on a sheep. I don't have any flocks. So what does this have to do with us and our health? The principle of this wisdom teaching is to know the condition of what you own, which would include your health. In other words, keep track of what you eat is a good idea. It's also appropriate to consider what exercise you get. The wisdom of the prudent is to give thought to their ways, according to Proverbs 14. Wisdom also teaches about how much you eat, self-control, sequence in eating different foods, and portion control when eating. And so, these statements: I enjoy eating some popcorn or chips each evening. I try to get a little exercise each day. I don't know how many carbs I eat at each meal, but I'm trying to cut back on the amount. Wisdom is knowing how much you eat and move. Since carbohydrates directly affect blood glucose levels, the less you eat, the better your blood glucose control will be. What is the ideal number of carbohydrates to eat per day? Some advocates of a low-carb meal plan really mean low carb. Some suggest 12 to 15 grams of carbs per meal, comparable to eating a slice of bread. And for the day, they suggest no more than 50 grams. And that's a good goal. But at least start with 30 grams per meal, like 2 slices of bread. Well, at the Joslin Diabetes Center, they use this Y-Weight program, and they advocate that a high-protein, low-carbohydrate energy meal plan is used. And so when you look at this dish, there's a lot of protein on the plate along with a low-calorie, nutrient-rich foods to the left. Another thing that we see is that patients with diabetes, they lose about a pound of their muscle mass every year. So, another thing that they do is that they use resistance exercise. Bigger muscles are more sensitive to insulin, and they maintain their metabolism at a higher rate. So eating more protein, fish, turkey, chicken, also makes you less hungry and fills you up faster, burns more daily calories, and probably most important of all, keeps you from losing muscle when you're dieting and exercising regularly. So what is one of the most nutrient dishes that you can eat, and especially for breakfast? Well, what is it? It's eggs. Regular egg consumption does not increase the risk of cardiovascular disease and stroke in healthy adults. Research has been done of 9,500 people in a 20-year study reported in 2007. They were eating 6 eggs a week, and the results were no more at risk for a stroke or heart disease than people who ate 1 egg per week. And also in a 2004 study of eggs and satiety and hunger levels of overweight patients after a breakfast of either eggs or bagels. And so the greater feelings of satiety before lunch and ate fewer calories than the bagel eaters during the remainder of the day. Well, of course, it was eating eggs. Fills you up more. Dr. Jason Fung says this: potential egg nutritional benefits include increased weight loss, better skin and eye health, enhanced liver and brain function, and a reduced risk of heart disease and metabolic syndrome, that is diabetes. Free-range eggs in particular tend to be safer, more ethically produced, and higher in several important nutrients. Studies now conclude that eating eggs even daily does not raise the risk of heart disease. In fact, consuming lots of eggs reduces the risk of diabetes by 42%. And so Dr. Axe writes, egg whites are lower in calories and fat, but are a good source of high-quality protein. However, the egg white nutrient profile contains a smaller range of micronutrients and is lower in certain vitamins and minerals, such as selenium. Selenium is an essential component of various enzymes and proteins called proteins. And that helps to make DNA and protect against cell damage and infections, according to Harvard University. When it comes to the egg whites compared to egg yolks, they're higher in calories and fat, but slightly lower in protein. But the egg yolk nutrition profile also provides a much broader array of important vitamins and minerals, including more selenium, and that's 14% of your daily value, and also of phosphorus and vitamin B12. So Dr. Axe writes this about the benefits of selenium. The chart we see acts as an antioxidant and defends against oxidative stress. Dr. Donnie Wilson writes this about oxidation. The process of oxidation happens as our bodies metabolize or process the oxygen that we breathe, and our cells produce energy from it. This process also produces free radicals, molecules that interact with the molecules within our cells, resulting in damage or stress to nearby cells. And selenium that we get from eating eggs defends against this. It also helps against cancer, boosts immunity, improves blood flow, and lowers the chance of heart disease. Selenium also regulates thyroid function and increases longevity and helps reduce asthma symptoms. So Dr. Berg says that egg protein has the greatest anabolic effect. 48% of egg protein is converted into body protein. And this means that it goes directly into the muscles and joints, and your body is only able to convert 32% of the protein in meat and fish. Studies have shown that if you consume whole eggs, your body is more efficient at building muscle, and you have a shorter recovery time from exercise. The insulin index is a scale that classifies how different non-carbohydrate foods affect insulin, and whole eggs have a much lower effect on insulin than egg whites alone. And when you remove the fat from a protein source, that you have a greater insulin spike. Dr. Berg eats 4 eggs per day, and I try to eat 3 eggs a day. Do your research and make a wise decision. Some stories have a good ending that grab your attention, like the couple who lost 578 pounds and eventually got married. How did this all happen? His doctor told him that he would die if he didn't change his lifestyle and lose weight. And so he immediately got to work. No, he thought about what the doctor said for several days before he took any action. Sometimes it takes a while for it to soak in your condition before you're motivated to do something about it. And he begins to take the doctor seriously. And then a friend told him about a cousin who was a trainer. And so he immediately contacted the trainer. No, he put that off and thought about that for several days. Well, he eventually reached out for help. And at one time he weighed 675 pounds, but now just over 200 pounds. He lost 458 pounds through diet, exercise, and guidance. And anyone who walks with the wise grows wise. That's Proverbs 13. In reflecting on how he used to live, he admits, I was depressed, addicted to pills and alcohol, eating 10 double cheeseburgers or 2 large pizzas at one time. My 24-hour job a day was to get healthy and save my life. Well, she was watching. She wanted to lose weight too. So she was given a trainer's business card, but she kept putting it off the call. She eventually called, and her trainer ended up being the wife of the trainer of the man who ended up losing 458 pounds. He shared his progress in losing weight and good news on social media, and she read about his progress. She was going to the same gym where they met, and she says that we started talking at the gym, and I hate to sound cliche, but it was love at first sight. 2 years later, after losing a combined 578 pounds, they are now married. And they intend to not only encourage each other, but also to work on helping others as well. So this story shows the wisdom of God. The appetite of laborers works for them. Their hunger drives them on. Proverbs 16. Well, according to the proverb, how would you picture a person? This couple's hunger was a desire, motivation, and purpose that moved them forward. There was good news about health and love in this story, and they both needed the motivation to overcome their overwhelming obstacle that is lifestyle and weight. Motivation, purpose, support, influence, and guidance are present in this good news story with a healthier lifestyle as a result. Let us remember, a good person gives life to others. The wise person teaches others how to live. Proverbs 11, verse 30.